Hold on. I'm waiting for the. Here we go. I'm waiting for the delay to catch up. Hello, everyone. You're here for Mavic Mini Nation, episode number 1. I think it is not number 1, but I don't know what it is. But it's Mavic Mini Nation something, a part of the ZinoNation network of shows tonight. Last week, we kind of focused on the new Mavic Air 2 coming out, but it's a lot to talk about with the Mini. It got a huge firmware update recently, and they added manual shutter, which is a big deal. But we're going to get into it all. We're going to be joined a little later by our special guest, Chris Hope, East Texas's top Mavic Mini flyer. So I want to welcome everybody in. I got my usual co-host with me, Marcus Crawford, and our DJI expert, Bill, the drone reviewer, sitting in with us again tonight. So let's start this big show off. Marcus, how are you tonight?
Well, not too bad, Ron. The weather's been pretty good over here, and so I was going to say I flew a drone today, but it's more like I attempted to fly a drone. I've got the Visuo Zen K1. There's a
mouthful.
It's a GPS drone without a stabilized camera. I'm not really that crazy about it, but I took it for a little flight, and I'll just say there's some issues with it. Looking forward to talking about a real drone tonight, like the Mavic Mini, as well as the Hubsan Zino.
Marcus, we'll have an update on the Hubsan Zino before we get started in the mini talk. Bill, how are you tonight?
I am doing fine, Ron. They're relaxing restrictions down on the lockdown here in Florida, so Saturday was a great day to fly, so I did that. I got a video coming out tomorrow, and it was a mini video. In fact, I have 2 mini videos coming out. One's tomorrow, so you guys want to tune in to see that. I'm not going to really spoil it for you. Let's just say it was an adventure. Okay.
Ooh.
It was a definite
adventure. I've ever heard one. Well, maybe we'll take a deeper dive tomorrow night on Bill the Drone Reviewer at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Bill the Drone Reviewer network of shows, featuring his usual co-hosts.
Yes, featuring the usual co-hosts, and I may even throw a teaser or 2 out there tonight about that. But the second one, the other video, I will tell you guys a little bit about. I took one of the new camera settings and I shot some video with it, and I think everybody's going to be really pleased with the results from those settings on that camera. I was very impressed with the quality of video, that's for sure.
So Bill's secret settings tomorrow night. We'll all be tuning in for that. Okay, before we really get started going deep, we're going to take a deep dive in the mini tank because it's a lot to talk. I mean, this update it brought some good things and also brought some not so good things. We're going to take a deep dive. But before we do all that, Marcus has an update for us. We woke up this morning and the Hubsan app 1 had an app update today, and Marcus will fill us in on what that brought to the table.
Well, so I'm just going to read off my phone here what it said in the update. It said it added aircraft status detection, optimized flight records, and fixed known bugs. Now, who knows what all that means? I plan on doing a flight test, and we'll check it all out, as well as a video with regard to that. But one of the things I do know that it added is a pre-flight status check, which I think is great. So you click on it and it gives you a pre-flight status of your compass calibration, your gimbal calibration, and your gyro calibration. Gives you a go or no go on that. And then I also think it looks at your return to home height, etc. I haven't actually seen it yet, so I'm anxious to check that out. And I just see that as a good step forward, and I'm really actually happy that Hubsan is still paying attention to that Zino. I've been flying some of these low, I'll say, bargain drones. There, that's a good way to put it. Some of the bargain drones lately, and I think the Zino is pretty close to that category, but functionality-wise, that I've seen so far, it's miles ahead of the rest of them. So.
So what you're saying, Mark, is these newer drones Ishin, the Beast, and the Vizio, all these new drones that they may not be able to keep up with the older Zeno 1?
Not even close. And in fact, Ron, I've got planned. I'm going to do it here, hopefully in the coming week. I'm going to take all 4 of those drones that you talked about: the Ishin EX4, the Visuo Zen K1, the ZG 906 Pro. I got to remember all those names.
Who names all these drones?
I know. And the original Hubsan Zeno. And because I've flown them all, I can already tell you the Hubsan Zeno is going to win by a freaking mile. But it is interesting because here's, before we get started on the Mini, and the Mini kind of fits into this category a little bit. So this is important. There are people, the 3 of us on this panel are fortunate enough that when that Mavic Air 2 got introduced, hey, we all just hit the button and bought it, right? I mean, a lot of people are not, they just don't have those kind of funds. If they got $400, I think all of us would tell them to buy the Mavic Mini. But there's people that don't have that much. So, that Hubsan Zeno, when it's on sale, it's often around $250 or even closer to $200. And then these other drones are even cheaper than that. And, if it gets somebody into the hobby, somebody that may not have the means, I'm all for it. And that's why I look at those drones, and that's why I test them, because I like to be able to show people that they don't have to spend a bunch of money to get into the hobby. And I'll get off my soapbox.
Well, thanks for that updates on the on the Zeno app, and Mark and I've been talking a little offline, and Bill too, about the Zeno 2, and we it's some disappointments out there, and we kind of want to do a whole show about it. So maybe next Monday will be the Zeno 2 show, and we'll just call it the Zeno 2. But the only thing is the programming may change, because if our Mavic Air 2s arrive, because next Monday will be the 11th, if our Mavic Air 2s arrive that day, it'll be a Mavic Air 2 show. But if the Mavic Air 2s do not arrive on the 11th, it will be probably be a Zeno show, because we want to get into the Zeno 2. Is it worth it? How good is it? We had commented here where somebody said they heard that the Zeno 2 was that good. But we'll take a deep dive again. But that show could be preempted if the Mavic Air 2 arrives. And Bill, you're a DJI expert here on the panel. What are the odds? And I'm not making you Bill the Greek here, whatever. What are the odds that we all ordered from DJI directly, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes.
We all ordered the firmware kit. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So technically, they all should ship about the same time. Do you think there's a chance that any of us will receive that Mavic Air 2 next Monday on May 11th?
Well, it's 7 days today, okay? And they said 10 to 15 days when you ordered it. So the 10th day, that's going to be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. All right. So they can arrive anywhere from Thursday, which is the 10th day, through the 15th day, which is 5 days past Thursday, which would be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. It could ride somewhere in that time frame. My guess, it's going to come earlier rather than later. Especially, and I'll say this, okay? All 3 of us are what I would call within a easy proximity of a DJI, what I want to say, distribution point, okay? Marcus, it's from California, and you're not that far from California. Ron, there's one in New Jersey, okay? And for me, there's one in Atlanta. So they're not that far. So odds are, my guess is if they were going to come, they'll probably come maybe Friday or Saturday is my guess. That's just off the top of my head. But they'll make it. I think they'll make it here before next Monday. That's I'm about 99.9% sure.
Wow, that's great news. I'm trying to send Lauren a link here. Is anybody doing it? Or I think I've done it. Lauren wants to jump in and explain something.
That'd be great.
So sorry if I'm distracted for a minute here. I'm not even on the right screen now.
Yeah, go ahead, Ron. with regard to the Mavic Mini, when I always when I start talking with regard to the Mavic Mini, we got some feedback there from someplace.
That was me. Sorry.
Hello, Lauren. How are you tonight?
Not too bad. Hey, Bill, I got $50 on your 10th.
Really?
Well, as I stated, the official release in US is the 11th, so it's going to be probably after the 11th, and then 15th for Canada. But anyway, no, I was just going to pop in for a minute just to explain real quickly on the battery issue with the Mavic Air 2, and a little something from DJI support over in Europe. The when you first get those batteries won't be activated, and in order to activate them, you have to fully charge them. Now, the very key thing is do not, and I repeat, do not use the gang charger for the first initial charge. You have to charge them individually on that charger. And once they are fully charged, and then it'll allow you to turn the battery on. There are a few little hiccups on some of them where they still won't turn on, and contact DJI customer support, and they can either come up with a fix or replace the battery. But do not use the gang charger, and make sure you do a full charge on the single charger before your first use.
Gotcha.
So in the box, the firmware kit, you get two chargers. You get the multi-charger and a single charger. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
Great.
don't use the multi-charger, right? For your first charge. After you've
Right.
done the first charge, no problem.
So basically, single charge all three batteries up. Run them all down to whatever 20% of whatever you run your batteries down to.
Yep.
Then you could go to the multi-charger.
Yeah, because it's just for the first charge which activates them, and part and parcel of that is the batteries are non-activated in order to preserve shelf life, and
Great.
so they require a full charge, and they don't want people going out also just pulling them out of the box and deciding to fly without doing a charge on the battery.
Gotcha. Now, what are these LiPo batteries, Lauren?
Yeah, they are.
Do we know cell? Is it 3-cell, 4-cell? We could look up the specs.
I know it's somewhere, but
yeah, I don't mean to put you in the spot, but there are LiPos that are either 3 or 4-cell.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, I've heard.
When did you ever put anybody on the spot, Ron? You've never done that
Well,
before.
I put you guys in the spot, but I wouldn't do that to Lauren. He's from Canada.
Hey, Lauren, thank you so much for that information, because this is going to save people a lot of grief. Thank you very much.
yeah, well, that's why I wanted to kind of get this out now before people start getting it in their hands, and then all of a sudden get all upset because things aren't working right. So it's just trying to be a little bit proactive. I've already posted the information in my group, so that the guys aren't going to have issues. Sorry, just had to check something.
Yeah. What box is on the shelf?
Lauren, JC has a question. He says, Lauren, do we have to do a firmware update on each battery?
As of yet, no. There may be a firmware coming update, battery firmware update coming to resolve this problem. So by the time you get your drone, that may be a requirement, yes.
Okay. Good answer.
I heard
also a big thank you for the SD card information as well too. I had somebody in my group today about that, and I asked Marcus because he got it, so I passed that information on. But thank you for that as well too.
Sorry, Bill, you kind of broke up.
Okay. The SD card that you recommended, thank you for that information. Because I've had several people inquire today. I asked Marcus, he sent me a picture of it, so I passed that information on to several people today.
Yeah, yeah, William. In answer to your question, you need to fully charge the batteries on the single charger only, not on the gang charger. Once that's done, you're okay. And then otherwise, the battery won't even turn on. So once you do that, and you start putting it in the drone, there may, and I say may, be a firmware update on it because DJI is currently working on that issue.
Great information again. I want to welcome our guest tonight, Chris Hope, to the show. Chris is one of the Sunrise crew from East Texas, and he's also the proud owner of the DJI Mavic Mini. In fact, he did a live unboxing on this show when the drone first arrived in, I guess it was November. And I'm going to put Chris on the spot right away. I mean, first, how are you? I've heard you've had power outages in East Texas tonight.
Yeah, there's a little old car tried to see if they can make toothpicks out of a telephone pole.
Yeah.
Oh,
and it didn't work out too well.
For the telephone pole or the car, huh?
They're both in bad shape.
Yeah.
Luckily, I don't think anybody was hurt, but she hit it right square in the middle of the emblem.
We have those same drivers in New Jersey also, Chris.
Sir?
We have those same type of drivers in New Jersey also.
Yeah, but man, it's we're out in the middle of nowhere. That stuff ain't supposed to happen.
No.
I guess the old pole just jumped out in front of them. That's
what we say here too. How about that? We say the same thing in New Jersey.
Yeah, that pole, man, it moved.
So you're doing well?
Yeah, I'm doing good. But just FYI, if the electricity blinks, I will be gone because there's no recovering for about 10 minutes.
I understand. So we'll ask you real quick then. Did you pre-order the Mavic Air 2 last week?
Did not.
Did not. Okay.
There's too many goodies with the Mavic Mini right now to go and buy there.
Okay. Well, speaking of the Mavic Mini, that's going to be the focus of the show tonight. Have you applied the recent firmware update? And if so, have you had much success with it?
Well, let me just tell you about this firmware update. You ready?
We're ready.
I have not had one issue at all.
Good to hear.
But I live out in the country where the Wi-Fi is not bad. So the day I updated it, I had a battery that was half full. I took it out to 4,600 foot, and the low battery turned around, returned to home. It come back home, landed in my hand just like always. No issues. Nothing that like I seen some of you guys have. I didn't have that problem.
Yeah, no issues here either, Chris. So yeah, mine went perfectly smooth, just like yours.
Yeah, it took about 5 minutes, and it was over with.
And Bill, you had a successful firmware update also, correct?
Yeah, my firmware update was successful, and I didn't get the issues that people have been getting, but I got a video coming out tomorrow, Chris, where I did get some issues that I wasn't counting on, and it really and then I figured out what happened. So got a video coming out on that tomorrow. But I have a second video coming out too, where I used one of the new settings to shoot video. And it was incredible, just absolutely incredible video from it. Didn't touch it in post, didn't do anything, just put it out. Going to put it out there. It's awesome.
Yeah, even before the firmware update, I did not fool. The only thing I fooled with was the EV value.
Yeah, so
I don't have any filters or anything.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Christy. So you don't usually mess with manual camera settings. I mean, for me, the big thing that I was appreciative of was the white balance, being able to just set the white balance in one spot so it doesn't change.
Yeah, you can lock it. That's a good feature. And since the Mini before the you could adjust the white balance, I always tried to keep the camera out of the clouds or out of the sun, and then lock it just on the scenery. But there's times, I've taken some pretty decent sunsets and sunrise pictures with it. Just last week, I did a sunrise there at the office. Got up before 7 o'clock, got one, and it was really nice.
Did you take that picture? I just looked. I think I just saw it this morning where you took a picture of those ominous clouds over the lake. Is that from the Mini or the Phantom?
That's from the Phantom yesterday during my live stream.
Okay, that's a great.
That's a feature I wish they would add in the app is to live stream from it.
Oh yeah.
And I'm. Oh, go ahead, sir.
No. I was going to ask you if they added live streaming to it. I never checked. Okay.
No, the Mavic, the Mavic Air's in the same app. In the same Go app. Hopefully, it will have the live streaming capability. I don't know why it wouldn't.
Lauren, has there been any talk about the Mavic Air 2 having the ability to live stream? And then I'm going to ask a two-part question. Did the Mavic Air 1 live stream?
No.
Okay.
Sorry. Yes, it could. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the first one that live streamed, but that wasn't available initially. And the Air 2 doesn't yet. That could be in the next firmware.
Okay. Good. It's good to hear. That would make it more interesting for somebody like Chris if they would add the Mavic Air 2 if it added live streaming. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would fly it. I would fly it if it had a live stream on a. I can fly it now, but I don't like all that telemetry and all that stuff on the screen. Using the third-party app to make it go through YouTube. I don't like doing that. It takes away from the moment for me.
Understood. You mentioned issues. I don't know. Well, we'll let Lauren after I say if he had an issue. I'm the only one that I know that personally that had the issue. But I did the firmware update. The number is a bunch of zeros and a 5 for the Mini. I have posted in the show notes. But I did the firmware update, and it seemed to go through okay. But then my controller wouldn't stop beeping, which I found was common. And you had to do you had to calibrate the controller to get it to stop beeping. But I also had a glitch with the firmware update that wouldn't allow me to calibrate the controller. So I actually had to hook the Mini up to the DJI Assistant app on my laptop and refresh the update. And then I was able to go back in and calibrate the controller and get rid of the beeping. But other people like our friend Brian Singleton, he had an issue where after he did the update, his motors were beeping and he would land it, restart it, and the beeping would just move to another motor. But I think that may have been connected to that issue Marcus found where the Flymore case, did something to the back propellers and caused this. So, I'm all speculating here. Chris, did you have the issue? You bought the Flymore kit for the Mini, correct?
Correct.
Did you have that issue where the case somehow warped the back propeller and it caused you an issue?
No, sir. I'm still on day one props.
It usually only happens if you've had it stored in the case for an extended period of time.
And that's exactly what happened to me. And that was before the update, though. That was long before the update. I had mine in the case for probably, it'd probably been in the case for 3 weeks.
Yep.
And I took it out, and I had those unintended descent and so forth. And Lauren, you can probably answer this. I've had some people say that if you let that prop, if you just took it out and you let it sit there for a while, like in the sun or something, that it would reform itself and be fine.
Something, I've heard things both ways, but realistically, for the price of a set of props, it's not worth it.
I'm with you. Yeah.
It's just not worth it.
Yeah.
Ron, can you share a screen that I'm sharing?
Oh, yes, I will. There we go. Okay, there it is.
So
get the comment off the screen so we can see it better. Hold on. Okay, there we go. Got full screen.
Okay, that actually can there. That's using the new settings on the Mavic Air or Mavic Mini. Sorry.
He slipped. He actually has the Air, but he can't say anything.
Thanks, Ron.
with friends like Ron, Lauren, with friends like Ron.
Just joking, folks. Just joking. Lauren does not have the Mavic Air 2.
Yeah, no, I don't have it, honest. Anyways, yeah. So being able to adjust it better, like I did this one in black and white because where I was at on that particular day, there was lots of snow and not really a lot of color. So I did it in black and white, but as you can see, like that's shot right into the sun, you know, and yet I've still got you know, nice low level. The darks come out nicely, and the sun's not overblown. So I just wanted to share that because that was like I say with the new firmware update and stuff. So
now, did you use your manual shutter adjustment on that photo?
oh yeah, no, everything was totally manual on this.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah, no, I very seldom shoot in automatic.
Okay.
You know, Lauren is one of those guys that he's like a quote real photographer. Instead of people like me, they call me Mr. Automatic.
Well, I mean, we you know, I mean, not everybody likes filters, but we know that ND filters, to make the ND filters really worthwhile, you have to have manual shutter adjustment because, you know, say you're shooting in 2.730 frames per second. Well, if you know, and you want to double your frame rate to 60, but to achieve that in most lighting situations, you'd have to put an ND filter on, or the video would be way overexposed. So now that manual shutter, even if you're not even a photographer, you could just do the mathematics and you're going to get you know, more realistic movement in the scene because of using an ND filter. If you have a lot of moving objects in your scene, like if you say, for instance, if you were like filming a train moving or whatever, the train would look much more natural with an ND filter on and doubling the frame rate from the shutter speed. So, but
that and it's nice that they've now added that 24 frames per second.
Correct, and we also got 24 and 48 frames per second in 1080p.
Yeah,
so that's real nice. So the kind of summarize. So we got manual shutter and video. We got white balance, but I don't like the way they do the white balance where you have to kind of dig down a couple levels and set it. It should be able to be set right on the main camera screen, but we'll take it. And like Lauren said, they added the extra frame rates. Am I missing anything else they added, Lauren or Marcus?
Well, no, I was just going to say, Ron, that I'm probably not the sharpest pencil in the pack, but until Chris Hope mentioned that, hey, if you want to lock that white balance, you just hit that little lock at the bottom. That makes so much sense, Chris. I never thought of that before. I always go into the white balance, put it in automatic, put it in manual so it stays locked. But your point is perfect. You just point it at the landscape, hit the lock button, and boom, you're there.
Yeah, your lock.
Matt North hooked me up on that.
Sorry, Chris, I cut you off. Go ahead.
Oh no, I just saying Matt North over at he hooked me up on that little feature. I'd seen it and understood it, but until he said start using it, and it really helps.
Yeah, I highly recommend using that lock. It's like get your all your settings set, and then hit the lock before you start even shooting, because quite often if you go from kind of a dark shot and then you pan around 180, it just absolutely destroys your video, because you can visibly see the cameras change, or the settings change as you go from dark to light, or vice versa, right? And it does not look anything close to natural. And excuse me, I just got somebody giving me a call. I'll be right back.
Go ahead, Lauren, take your call.
Hey, so I
forgot, Darren Case said it in here in the chat. He said we missed the iPad update too.
What? Sorry, what?
Oh yeah, iPad support. That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
iPad. I don't use my iPad because it's too big, but for those that got the extra holder where they can use it, it's great. I love to use it with my.
Yeah, I have a Mav mount, and I can use it on mean, it worked with the Spark. It worked with the original Mavic Air. Works with the original Mavic Pro. Works with the Mavic 2. Any of the controllers on the bottom, it will fit right in that slot, and it's just absolutely perfect. One of the things that I wanted to talk about with this firmware update, and that wasn't camera related, was they talked about, and they just kind of glossed over it, and they talked about stability. And I can tell you something. After I took off, now I tried what Lauren said, where it sits there and holds like you do it with like maybe a Phantom 4 Pro or the Mavic 2, where it's, getting the landing zone. All right. I tried that. All right. It didn't work. All right. Both times I went to land, I had to take over at the last minute because it wasn't coming on the pad. But what I will say is this: the stability, like after it takes off, it's like I could hold my finger under it, and it wasn't moving like a tenth of an inch either way, backwards, forwards, sideways, up or down. It was like rock solid, and I could not believe it. So I think they worked on improving stability with it, and it looks really, really good as far as the stability is concerned. I was very impressed with that.
So you noticed an improvement in the flight characteristics, Bill?
Oh, most definitely. The stability on there was just off the charts. I was very impressed. We had a moderate wind that day. It was about 10 miles an hour. Wasn't much, but it was some, and it was rock steady. I mean, I was very impressed with that.
Well, Bill, you brought up the wind, and I want to ask you a question. And I've seen somebody commented on my update video before I even got to go out the test fly. And of course, I didn't see it in time. My Mini got the added feature added to it that maybe isn't that the one you want that much. When you go out and fly in the wind, and the wind warning pops up, not only do you get the visual message on the screen, but the controller vibrates in your hand, much like a video game.
It's like, that's what happens when you get stall warnings on a plane when you're flying. The stick will shake, okay? And it's the same kind of thing with that. I haven't had that yet, but I have had high wind before the update, and I flew and I got those high wind warnings. They really, and this is something, and I think Marcus can attest to this, is you don't ignore those high wind warnings, especially when you're out 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 feet away. All right. Because if you're having to fly back in the wind, guys, this doesn't have the power of a Mavic 2 Pro. It doesn't have the power of, it won't have the power of the Mavic 2 Air. It's going to eat up a lot of battery getting back to you. So don't ignore those high wind warnings.
Chris, when you did your update, do you have that? Do you have the controller vibrating you on high wind?
No. When I watched your video,
no, Ron, that stick shaker, that's the Mavic Air 2.
Well, I only have the Mini, and it definitely shakes the stick every time the high wind warning comes on, and the high wind warning seems to be, more sensitive now after the firmware update. But I definitely have the stick shaker. I mean, it drives you bananas because you have basically, if you want to shake it all the time, you have to tap it every time it pops up on the screen. And I flew it in a day where I would call maybe a little more than moderate wind, and it was constantly going off. So somehow I got the stick shaker on the Mini.
That must have come through your phone then, because the controller wouldn't do that. So they must have coded that into the programming so that your phone doesn't vibrate.
It feels like it's the controller vibrating because I'm holding it by the controller, not by the phone. So if it is the phone, somehow it's vibrating so much that it sends the vibration through the phone to the controller.
Yep. No, that's
go in there.
Entirely possible. Yeah.
Go in there and turn that setting off in your phone, Ron.
Pardon?
And it'll stop that. You can turn that setting off in your phone. You can turn that setting off in your phone.
Okay.
And it won't get it. It's not. Apple doesn't call it. It's not a vibration. It's some other word that Apple uses. Somebody in the chat may know what it is. Some kind of a word that I can't pronounce.
Haptic feedback or something like that.
Something.
So you think it's more of an Apple issue than it is a DJI issue?
I've got mine turned off, and I haven't had what you had.
No, nor have
that's
I.
Something I can compare it to.
Yeah, nor have I. And of course, Bill is Bill is one of those Android guys. Have you experienced it, Bill?
No, I haven't. I mean, it's been I've flown. Now I got to say this though. On Saturday, okay, I was using my iPad Mini 4 in my Mav mount when I flew this, and no, I didn't get any high wind warning, so I didn't get any feedback like that. But no, but see, I'm halfway. I'm halfway between the dark side and the rebels. So just because I do have the Mini here. So
I think it was Chris mentioned that this was it this added this update added iPad support. Did we mention that? Is that who mentioned that?
I think Darren mentioned it in the chat, and I forgot about it.
Well, I've been using the iPad Mini since I've been using the iPad Mini with the Mavic Mini. I'm saying Mini too much here since the get-go. In fact, I had I made 2 videos of using the iPad Mini with the Mavic Mini, and they've been very popular on my channel. Like they always get a lot of requests. I'm going to say I did it, maybe in March or whatever, maybe February. I did a thing where I went out and flew with the Mini, and it worked perfectly with the iPad Mini as the controller in place of the phone. So that was there already, but maybe they enhanced it somewhat.
Yeah, basically you weren't getting a full screen display prior to that iPad update. So once they did the update, then you got the full screen.
Oh, okay. Huh.
Instead of a Windows screen.
Okay, I don't remember a Windows screen, but well, that's great.
Yeah. Actually, Sam Burns just mentioned it in chat now as well. So
thank you, Sam. I see it right here. Hold on, chat moves so fast. Thank you, Sam.
Talking about how well that Mavic Mini flies, the other day I flew my Mavic 2 and the Mavic Mini back to back, and it's stunning how well that little Mini flies. It always impresses me when you have the thing in the air, it feels like a bigger drone. You don't realize that it's the small little drone it is, and that is just a testament to those DJI flight controls.
And the fact that it flies better now, this update is I mean, I've only flown it one time since the update, and it was kind of windy, so I didn't notice that it flew better. But it's good to hear that it is flying better. Chris, you're still happy with the performance of the Mini? You've owned it. We've all owned it, I guess. About six months or so now.
November the 11th.
Yep.
It'll almost be 6 months next Monday.
Yeah. Now I fly the Phantom, of course. I like the Phantom series because it's just a beefier bird. It can take a 20-25 mile an hour wind, and I'm not worried about it at all. Just put it up there 100 foot and let her fly.
Right.
The Mini, I will pay a little bit more attention with it. Although day one I took it out and flew it in a 20 mile an hour north wind, and it did okay, but that's before all the updates and before all the troubles, and but it was like 15-20 foot off the ground. It wasn't 100 foot off the ground.
Right.
I could still get it back to me pretty easy. I can see the wind taking it away and you're getting it back.
True. I mean, people always say, well, it's not good in the wind. I always try the preference. It's not good in the wind compared to a full size Phantom or a Mavic Pro or something. But for its size and weight, it's the champion of the wind. I've never seen a drone that small and that light do as well in the wind. So again, as Mark would say, it punches above its weight in its size and weight class.
Well, I have to say,
take it, dude.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Lon. Go ahead, bud.
Okay. No, I was just going to say I really have to put take my hat off and give a big bow to Marcus, because when he had his wind issue, he probably did the smartest thing that you can do if you ever get into a real problem like Marcus had there, and that was pitch the gimbal down, find a identifiable spot to land that you can come back and just, rather than crash the drone, set it down under your own control, under your own decision, and then just go to your drone and retrieve it from there rather than crashing it. So, well done, Marcus.
Thank you, Lauren.
Yeah, that video was what, like an old-fashioned thrower.
Yeah, and let me tell you though, the thing that I didn't think of that I should have thought of, I did not use the Find My Drone on the app, which I should have, but I landed it right at a Y in the road that I knew I could find. Right, so anyway.
Hey, Scott from Scott's RC World. Just so you know, I'm having a mass drone sell-off real soon because I've got too many drones and I got more coming. So, you want to buy some?
Lord, you own the Mavic Air 1?
No, actually, I got rid of that last year.
Oh, okay, it's gone. Okay. Yeah, some other people were asking, JS Kenterprise, I hope I pronounced that right. He asked if anyone plans on selling their Mavic Air, once their Mavic Air 2 arrives or whatever. And I feel there will be a good amount of people doing that or whatever. I mean, unless some people like to keep all their drones, but a lot of us, like Lauren said, we get overcrowded with drones and we need to make space.
Hey, Lauren, is there still a significant advantage in the U.S. dollar to Canadian dollar that there is an advantage to people buying from your store in the U.S.?
Honestly, I would have to say yes.
Yeah, in other words, that advantage is more than what the shipping would be.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't have my iPad here because I can do a quick calculation on what the price would be. But yeah, with the current exchange rate, like you get $1.40 for every US dollar, right? So if you were to check out a Canadian site and then figure that your dollar is worth $1.40, yeah.
And that's gonna be magnified by a more expensive drone. So if somebody's looking for a Mavic 2 Pro right now or something like that, that'll even give you a bigger savings. So don't be afraid to put a plug in, Lauren, and put a link in the chat to the store.
Actually, you missed my comment last week. I put in my notice there. I'm no longer retiring or no longer consulting there. So
okay.
But no, I highly recommend those guys because they're second to none when it comes to after sales service. There's guys that bought their drones there 2 and 3 years before, and they still help everybody out. It's not just about getting the sale. That's the problem with too many of the companies. It's all about the sale, and then there's no after sales service. So
Right. Well, that's good to hear. Hey, we got a question from JC in the chat here. He said, to all you guys, when you get a new DJI drone, do you do a gimbal calibration, sensor calibration, RC calibration, and IMU calibration, and compass calibration before the first flight?
Absolutely.
That leaves no doubt.
Yeah. Don't even think about taking off until you've done at least, at the very minimum, do your IMU first, most important one, and then your gimbal calibration. And well, you can't do your compass calibration until you get out in the field because you don't want to be doing that in your house. But those three have to be done first before you even consider flying. Your sensor calibration, and I'm assuming you mean your vision sensors. Normally from the factory, those are good, no issues, no problems. But if you do get any warning, then yeah, you're going to have to do them. But to do your sensor calibration for vision, then you have to use the DJI Assistant. So
Warren's 100% spot on. I do the IMU, then the gimbal, and then when I'm outside, the compass, and it's automatic. And here's my rule of thumb for compass calibrations. Okay, for me, if I'm still flying out in the backyard where I normally fly most of the time, I don't do it unless I get asked for it. However, if I go out and I decide for some reason to fly out of my front yard, I'll do a compass calibration for grins and giggles. That because and I'll tell you this, I've never had an issue because of that. All right, and that's one of the things I can say. Spend that 5 minutes. That 5 minutes will definitely save you a lot of heartache and a lot of grief. I can 100% tell you that.
Now I've heard arguments, and I'm just playing devil's advocate here because I always, when in doubt, I calibrate too. But I've also heard people say, and I'd love to hear both Lauren and Chris's opinion of this, that if your drone asks you for a calibration, you're in a compass calibration, a magnetic calibration, you're in a bad spot and you should move someplace else.
Correct.
Yes and no. Let's put it this way. It doesn't hurt to do a compass calibration. But rule of thumb is, I tell people, is if you're more than 150 kilometers, hey, I'm Canadian, 150 kilometers from where you did your last calibration, always calibrate. Okay, even if it doesn't ask you for it, but if it asks you for it, just do it. It takes 30 seconds, you know.
Yep.
As they call it, just do the DJI dance.
Hey, let me ask Chris a question. Okay, he does a sunrise flight basically in the same place every Sunday at the around. We see the bridge and the lake. Do you compass calibrate every time before every flight there, or because it's the same location, you just go with, if it doesn't ask, you just fly?
Here's what I'm fixing to say, and it's going to probably rub some people different. I calibrate mine when it says calibrate. In my way of thinking, it's calibrated. If it wasn't, it'd tell you, and it tells me. It doesn't tell me. It may take 20 flights before I calibrate, and I may go 1,000 miles with it in the front seat of my pickup before I fly it. Sometimes it asks, sometimes it don't.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but that thing's, I agree with Lauren. It takes about a minute to calibrate it or less.
Yeah,
but I just check, make sure the props are tight, and put her up.
Yeah, it's definitely different up here because I'm much farther north than you are, and
probably
when you're farther north, there's a lot more magnetic deviation, so you don't have to move as far for that magnetic deviation to take effect.
Hey, Ron, we've got a couple questions in the chat about SD cards, and Lauren gave us a great recommendation last time for a high-speed card for the.
Who's asking? I'll highlight them.
Well, it already passed.
No, don't worry about that. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead with your.
But anyway, well, I just happen to have a couple here, and I just want to show the difference. So this one is the card that probably many of us would buy, and it's it says on there UHS-1, and you can see the big 80 there for the transfer speed. And the one that Lauren has recommended, it looks very similar, but you can see there it says UHS-2, and look at that 275 megabit transfer speed. So, and Lauren, correct me if I'm wrong. That can make a difference in the quality of video in your camera, right? And how fast that it can write on that card.
If your card isn't fast enough, then basically what's going to happen is you're going to get, in computerese geek, you get a buffer overrun. So then what ends up happening is it will just lose part of that buffer. So this is where you'll get jerks and pauses in your video and stuff like that. So you've got to make sure that your card is fast enough.
And this one is about $16, and it's a 64 gigabyte card. This is a 64 gigabyte card, and it's about $65. So there is a big difference in price, but it makes a lot of sense to me, and I appreciate
for what it's worth, Marcus, on that card, that's UHS 1 and 2 compatible. Now, do you need something that fast? No, you don't. You could go a few steps below that, but myself, everything that I shoot, I can't repeat, you know. So rather than take a chance, you know, I'll spend the money and just buy the card. So
Yeah.
Now I posted the exact name in the chat for everybody,
Yeah,
so you can go ahead and get that. It's on Amazon.
Thanks, Marcus. Or Bill.
Everybody.
Somebody. Whoever did it.
So the card that we're highlighting now, this would be a card that probably would be perfect for the Mavic Air 2. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. That's definitely got the speed that the Mavic Air 2. And for those that weren't familiar with it, the Mavic Air 2 has had the fastest write speed of any of the consumer drones built by DJI. So that's where it's important to have that faster speed.
Yeah, yeah. But to your point, this guy right here is perfect for your Mavic Mini. It's plenty fast, and you're not going to have a problem with it. But the Mavic Air 2, because of its write speed, it needs the bigger one.
Yeah, you look at the write speed of the Mavic Mini and compare that to the Mavic Air 2. Like that's just a world of difference. And your speed. A lot of people kind of overlook that when they're doing their reviews and stuff. But that speed there has a lot to do with your video quality on just how good your video quality is. So, you know, that high megabit rates absolutely improves your video.
Hey, I see another question in the chat here that would probably be best directed to Lauren. Blue Skyver there, Ron, is asking about the internal memory. And so I would assume that it must be pretty fast.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That internal memory is really fast. Can you transfer 8 gig and then internal first and then transfer it to an external SD card? Yes, you can. It's a pain in the derriere to do it, but yes, you can do it.
Well, the other thing worth mentioning is with that 8 gigabyte internal, if you're shooting in HDR, trust me, you're going to fill that up really fast.
Yep.
That card will probably be perfect for the Evo, the Autel Evo 2 also, with its similar camera specs.
Now the SD card that I got, I ordered from DJI's website, and it's a SanDisk Extreme. I got 128 V30 XC1 3A2 on that. And it has read speeds up to 160 and write speeds up to 90. Meets the new UHS speed class 3 and UHS video speed class 30 V30 for 4K UHD. So that's a great. Well, obviously that's a great card as well too. It was $39 for the 128 gigabyte one out on DJI's website.
JC has a question for Lauren also. He says, Lauren, the SanDisk Extreme Pro 64 standard at 90 megabytes, is that okay?
Depends on whether you're talking read or write. If you're talking 90 megabits on write speed, then yes. If you're talking read speed, no. It's your write speed that's important. Your read speed is basically how fast you can download it to your computer.
Right, which isn't
so.
Yeah, which isn't as important as the write. Yeah.
You just spent $800 on a drone or $1,000 on a drone. Spend $60 and buy a good card. That's what I would say.
No, you do a cheap card.
It will last forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, but you'll thank me for that advice on that card later, Marcus. That's all I can say.
Okay. I see where we're going with this. Yeah.
Say no more. Say no more.
I can't say no more.
It took a while for that to sink in, Lauren.
Yeah, that light bulb just lit above Marcus's head right now.
Yeah. Well, it bounced off the top.
JC got back to us, Lauren. He said, right, that 90 is the rate speed.
Yeah, 90 you can get by with because in the buffering, if you're writing to your SD card, it will actually use part of that internal memory for the buffering. So basically, if you're at 90, you're stretching it, and overall you shouldn't have too much problem. But normally I recommend nothing less than 100 because it does have a 120 write speed. So, and as for the price of that SD card, it really depends on where you live, because I think it's about around $150 up here. What did you pay, Marcus?
I paid like $62 and change. And
wow!
And let me tell you what I did, Lauren. The minute you mentioned it on air, while we were talking, I went on Amazon, and that's where I picked it up. And that store, whatever it was, only had about 5 of them. So I don't know if they're still available. But I know that, and I think you had pointed out, Lauren, and we had looked. Best Buy was out of stock on that particular one.
Yeah, because it's getting more and more popular. Like UHS one has almost reached its lifetime for the usage. And Marcus, have you opened that up yet or not?
I have not.
Okay. One big thing you're going to notice difference is if you look at the back of that card, instead of there being just kind of one row of contacts, there's 2 rows of contacts, right? And that 2 rows of contacts is part of what enables that ultra high speed writing. Now, the upside of that card, and the part of the reason I recommend it, is that double row of contacts is UHS2, and that card is also UHS1 compatible, so it'll work with both. So you're kind of future-proofing yourself for future needs. So that's why I recommend that one.
Perfect. That's great information. Thank you, Lauren.
No problem.
We got a question of Scott World's RC, and I think Bill kind of answered it, his comment. So is the SD cards that DJI offered for the Mavic Air 2 fast enough? I hope so, because I purchased mine from them.
Yeah, it is. It has transfer faster with read speeds up to 160 and write speeds up to 90.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but at the 90 write speed, they're relying on that 8 gig of internal memory to work as a buffer. So as long as you're not videoing for more than about 15 or 20 minutes of your full flight time without stopping, like if you stop your recording, wait 2 or 3 seconds, then it will empty that buffer onto the card. So,
well, that makes total sense. Yeah.
And the other thing I got into a discussion with some people today was the like, is it a true 48, or is it stitching 12s together to make 48? Well, I guess you can't do it yet. When you get it. Oh, sorry, did I say that? No. But anyway, when you get it, you'll see that if you do a 48 megapixel picture, before you can take your next shot, you've got to wait about 2 seconds. And that is because the sensor on that, they're doing pixel splitting, which gives you your 48. And especially if you've got that slower card as opposed to the fast one, your 2 seconds might be 3 or 4 seconds. With the faster card, it's going to be even less. So the only time it will actually use that 48 megapixel is when you are you have to manually request that, and you got 2 seconds between shots. Now, that being said, if you go to any of their specialty shots, like bracketed or anything like that, you notice that those pictures are limited to 12 megapixel. And the reason for that is because if they were done at 48, waiting 2 seconds, like bracketed photo, usually takes 3 or 5 pictures. And if you had to wait 2 seconds between each time it takes that picture, there could be a lot of blur because not everything stays exactly perfectly for that 10 seconds, if you did a 5 bracket shot. So the 12 megapixel, yeah, it can rip those off real quick. But when you go up to 48, it just can't write fast enough. So
that pixel splitting sounds really interesting. And one of the things that I've heard about it is it's best used when you have a lot of light, but it could be interesting, like for the stuff you do, Chris, where you're taking some of those sunset shots and stuff, having that level of resolution might be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Problem is when you go to the 48, he's going to lose his low light performance.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I have mirrorless cameras that I have one that does, I think, a 64 megapixel picture, but of course, it kind of does what Lauren said. It's building it or whatever by shooting a lot of frames, and like you guys said, it needs to be in good light, and also it's good for landscapes, for things where it's not much movement in the frame.
So this one, Ron, is not like where it's taking multiple pictures. It's actually splitting the pixels on the sensor itself.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you look at Tom's Tech Time, okay, when he did that and he did one of those, and what he did was he said he zoomed in on it and you couldn't see any stitching at all, nothing.
No.
On that 48 megapixel picture that he posted.
Because it doesn't stitch, Bill.
Because it doesn't stitch. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't stitch. So you don't see any of that. And it looks, I mean, that picture was just, I mean, he's probably where they filmed The Sound of Music, okay?
Right.
In Bavaria. And the scenery there is out of this world, okay? And it was just breathtaking. It really was just unbelievable.
Yeah, it sure was.
Hey, so you just touched on something, though, that I think nobody does like DJI does. And that is, in these cases, like with my Zoom, when it's stitching together panoramas and that, God help me out, Lord, what do they call it, where it takes the
asteroid.
Well, no, I'm thinking the more detailed picture with the Zoom, where it will take those multiple pictures and put them together. And it is super res. That's what they call it on the Zoom, super res. And the level of it's the same size picture. It's not a panorama or anything, but it splits it and zooms in and then stitches them together. And nobody does that like DJI. That's all I'm saying. I sound like a fanboy. Maybe I am, but yeah, nobody does it like they do.
You can't help what you like, man.
Yeah.
Well, here's something else, and we're going to be talking about. We're going to spend some more time on the Mavic Air 2 tomorrow night. But one of the things that I'm already getting pinged on from several people is, the whole thing about, Android or iPad kind of a thing. And already one of the things that I found, I have a Note 10, and it's not listed as one of the supported phones.
Uh-oh.
However, out of the gate, it was the same thing with the Mavic Mini. The Note 10 wasn't listed, and I use it all the time on there. So, so I'm telling people with Android phones, people are just like, "Oh, I got a phone, it's not working. I'm gonna go out and get it." And, just calm down here for a second. It's gonna work, okay? Like if you have a Note 10 or a Note 10 Plus, like I do, just because it's not listed up there, and if it's a phone within a year, it's going to work. I can tell you that right now as far as Android is concerned. I know people that use S9 Pluses haven't had any issues with DJI, especially with the Fly app. So, it's really, make sure, don't go out and trade your phone in just for this. All right. And the other thing is, and what people can do, and this is one of the things I highly encourage people to do, iPad Mini 4s are at such a bargain basement price right now. go out and get yourself one. I mean, you could probably pick one up for a couple $100, and I can tell you the screen size, the resolution on this is off the charts. And you know that they're going to have an adapter like they do with the Mavic 2 series that's going to fit in there. So my recommendation is go for an iPad, folks.
Now hold it, Bill and Ron. You guys, let's talk about the elephant in the room.
All right.
Your controller.
Oh yes, here's the big question here.
Yeah, here it comes, and that's the one that
it's coming out right now here, folks.
I was hoping they'd offer that with the Mavic Air 2. I was hoping it out of the gate.
There it is.
Yeah.
Lord, any chance the Mavic Air 2 will work with the Spark controller the day it arrives to us?
Not likely.
Okay.
In future, absolutely.
But not day one.
Well, yeah, they said it would. They committed to that.
Yep. It will, but I'm hearing that's 2 more updates from now.
Down the road.
Okay. Hey, listen, I see Chris shaking his head, and I think I know why.
No, I just knew that. I don't think Smart Controller will work with it. That's what I was shaking my head for.
Oh, I thought you meant because of live streaming. I just was thinking, I
don't think they've got that figured out yet either.
Yeah.
Have you seen the new Smart Controller?
No.
You have it, Lauren?
I tell you what, Lauren, if you'll scoot over to your right just a little bit, we might see it.
I'll just wait a few more days. You'll see it.
Okay, that's a good teaser. Let's circle back to the Mavic Mini here because we've gone over an hour now. So I just want to ask everybody in the panel about this firmware update since everybody's here to install it, and I'll start with Bill and we'll work our way around clockwise. Do you recommend upgrading your Mavic Mini to this latest firmware? And if you do, what would you say the main thing you're going to gain from it is?
Well, absolutely. I didn't have any of the issues that have been previously discussed. So I would say without a doubt, yes. And I took it out for a good flight. I have 2 pluses from this. Those manual control settings are incredible. And I tried one of the new ones and shot video with it, and it came out fantastic. The other thing is, and I found, at times when I was just letting the Mavic Mini hover, the stability on that was off the charts. I mean, it was like it wasn't even moving 1/10 of an inch in any direction. It was rock solid. Of course, I had less than 10-mile-an-hour winds that day, so it wasn't that bad. But those are the 2 big takeaways for me.
So Bill, I need to throw something at you, though. The reason you were so impressed by how stable that Mavic Mini was is because the drone you flew before that was the Hubsan Zino. So just throw that out there. So
absolutely, Marcus, 100%.
Listen, I'm sure you guys have seen them. There's been a lot of videos put out by a number of people saying, "Oh, don't do the update. You're going to cause this problem, that problem." No, do the update. And if you have that motor error, put new props on your drone, and it's the rear props primarily that happen. So if you have that motor error, you get it, put new props on, you'll be fine, and you gain all of the functionality that DJI added to that, and I just think it works great. And yeah, I didn't hesitate. Lauren?
Yeah, the only reservation I have on the update, and it's absolutely a real minor thing, but I've just have solved this issue about 10,000 times since the update, is if you get beeping from your controller after doing the update, just do a controller calibration. That'll get rid of that. It doesn't happen to everybody that does the update, but it does happen. So do a controller calibration, shut everything down, restart it, and then it'll go away. But other than that, as far as I'm concerned, those updates should have been done a long time ago. The full control of the camera. And again, I'm the photography guy. I like being able to control my camera. I have to say that I really, really love what they've done with that update.
Yeah, I'm with Lauren. I'm glad they give us the update. And it should have came day one, but 6 months later, at least they did give it to us.
Yeah.
I'm happy with mine. I'd update it in a heartbeat. I don't never not update my drones. Period. Phantom 4 is fresh, up to date with the latest firmware, and everything else I own will be done the same way.
Yeah,
There's a reason they push an update out. It's to either make it better or make it safer.
very true. I'm with you, Chris. I use
It's not. Trust me, it's not to cause anything. My internet's cutting in and out. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, they push out an update and firmware upgrades for a reason. Like I was saying, it's for fell asleep on the keyboard, Bill. Thanks, Metro. It's to make it better. Period. Get the keys off.
Connector?
Yeah, here it is right here. This is where I plug my Apple connector in up here, and this is what goes into the controller here.
Okay, the adapter mini to
Yeah, I bought this when I had the Spark. So
Yeah, OTG cable.
yeah, it's an OTG cable, so it works like a champ. Oh, and talking about your case for Mavic Mini, doesn't get any better than this one. Okay,
it's your hard case.
it's a hard case. It's a GPC hard case, and the price was very right on this case for me. Very right.
So in other words, you got it for free.
And yes, and I got to thank, gentlemen, you know who I have to thank for this, don't you?
We do.
Marcus and Ron.
Yeah.
We do. Our spin up friend. And Chris meant, I'm sure Chris meant him to spin up also.
Barry Markowitz.
Barry Markowitz, yes. So Barry, if you're watching, again, thank you for this.
Barry's a good dude.
He is.
Hope Barry stays safe out there in the somewhere in the Pacific.
So Ron, you didn't give us your 2 cents on that update.
Yes, Ron. Let's hear your words. Pontificate for us.
Yeah, of course, I'm the only one in the panel here that had any problems with the updates, and
See you, Lauren.
See you, Lauren.
See you, Lauren.
And maybe I did something wrong with the update. Maybe that I had a problem with first, but it was easy to fix. You just got the DJI Go Assist now. You can just refresh the update. You don't have to reinstall it. You just refresh the aircraft and the controller, and then I was able to go in and calibrate the sticks on the controller, which was easy. You just move them, all 4 ways, and on the screen you can see it moving around. And as soon as you started the process, the beeping stopped before I even finished. So it was an easy fix. I mean, maybe if you were a newbie, you never ever updated a drone before, maybe it would have been a little more difficult. But if you've owned a drone for a while, it was easy to fix. But what's disturbing is some other people have that combined with the actual motors making a noise, which again we speculate that relates to the prop issue. But I want to say more people had the experience that you three had than had the experience I did. So I'm recommending to everybody to, if you haven't upgraded yet, apply the upgrade. Even if you have no interest in manually controlling your shutter, at least it's there. If you ever do want to get ND filters, and the white balance setting is there. But like as Marcus and Chris kind of explained, when I look at that white balance, the manual white balance, it's almost set on what I would set it at anyways. And I know Kelvin from my photography days in the old days. So it almost picks the right one all the time. And as Chris pointed out, just hit that lock button on the main screen and you're good. Even if you flip the drone around, if you always find the same direction, the white balance is going to be fine. But like somebody mentioned, but when you turn around and come back the other way, it changes the lighting and the white balance could be off. But if you lock it in, like Chris said, then you're kind of good, even if you do rotate the drone around mid-flight. So I'm all for, I highly recommend the update. It makes one of the best small drones in the market even better.
That's a big 10-4.
I couldn't agree more there, Ron.
I wanted to demonstrate. I know JC had asked the setup for this. This is the OTG cable going into the mini smart controller, and there's the lightning cable hooked up right here to the OTG. So that's how it works.
JC, Bill's kind of got a fancier setup than I have. If you subscribe to my channel, go look on my I have two videos where I use the Mini and the both minis, the Mavic Mini and the DJI and the iPad Mini, and I have a simple just OTG cable where the one just has the micro USB on the one end and the lightning on the other. And if it's simple, I think the OTG cable costs less than $10 on Amazon. I link it.
Yeah, it's real cheap. It's real cheap. It's like $7 out there.
I linked in the video, so I mean it's a real simple setup and it works. Again, it works perfectly. And even in the video, I even showed, because this was of interest to Marcus. Not only does it work, but the iPad Mini 4 is powerful enough to fly the Mini and do the screen recording at the same time without causing the Mini to heat up or shut down or go slow or whatever. So at least I haven't tried this news firmware update, but at least it worked perfectly on the previous firmware update. So
yeah, no, that's great, Ron. That's a good deal.
And I don't normally fly it with the iPad Mini. I mean, I'm lucky enough to have that, the iPhone 11 Pro, which has all those nits on it. It's actually, even though it's smaller, it's a better screen than the iPad Mini. It's just smaller, but it's actually brighter. So, and kind of for me, and this, everybody's different. So this is me. Since I'm going with a mini setup here, the drone's small, everything's small. I kind of want to stay small with the phone being small too, if that makes any sense. I'm more likely to put something like a Mini 4 on a bigger device, like say Chris's Phantom 4. A nice iPad looks great on the Phantom 4. Chris, what do you fly your Phantom 4 with? What device? Your phone, or do you have a tablet of some sort?
I got the iPad 11 and an 8 Plus. I fly with both of them. Just depends on the mood I'm in. Plus the cell phone service. The iPad Pro doesn't get as good cell phone reception as the phone does. So if I'm up at my place on top of my hill, I got a good cell phone reception. I'll use it. If I go to the lake, I usually use my phone.
Gotcha.
Makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, because you're
up both ways.
Because your live streaming all depends on how well your phone's functioning.
Yes, and I've learned the hard way. The first 3 or 4 times flying from the lake with my iPad, the frames per second would go from 30 to 5 to 75. It's just all over the place. And I finally learned to switch to my phone, and works fine.
And that made for a bad stream when it was switching all over the place. I gather. Yeah,
it's not enjoyable. It looks like crap.
Right. But that's all good to know. I think I was talking with our friend Philly Drone Mike. I think my problem with live streaming is he was telling me, even though I have unlimited bandwidth on my T-Mobile account, it's after a while it goes from 4G to 2G if I use too much. So probably somewhere during the flight, I hit my cap or whatever, and I move down to the slower speed, and that may be the reason I'm never able to stream very well with the drones. But it still doesn't make any sense to me, because if I was just streaming with the iPhone, nothing to do with the drone. If I was just Facebook Live off the iPhone, I don't have any issue. But somehow when I get a drone involved in it, then all of a sudden I miss more frame rates than I have. You know what I mean? It's not even close.
Well, I think probably you're dealing with a lot there, and I think Chris can probably address this as well. But I think for me, I think the thing is, one of the things that helps me is, I have Verizon as my carrier, and I have unlimited. And I've noticed, and I watch and I pay particular attention, and Chris can probably really attest to this. When my Phantom 4 Pro V2.0 is out there, I'm looking to see how what I'm getting on the signal strength, and if I'm still getting 4G. And every single time I've gotten 4G, I haven't had any issues with that. I mean, yeah, I get some latency coming back, especially when I'm 1,500, 2,000 feet away. But as far as the signal is concerned, for my iPad, it's working like a champ.
Yeah, you just got to know where to go. And I know as Clint Eastwood used to say, I know my limitations.
Man's got to know his limitations.
Yeah, man's got to know his limitations, and I know where to go and where not to go.
Our first Dirty Harry quote ever on this show. One of the great films of all time.
Exactly, I agree. Yep.
So I'll be. I guess I'll have to wait until 5G hits or whatever, and then I'll be a streaming madman on these with that fast 5G connection.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I mean, I like doing our Sunday morning flights. It's a lot of fun.
I'm sorry, I've been the last couple weeks, Chris. I've been we've remodeled our house here, and I was in like a summer rental, and now more than the past week we've been moving back into our remodeled house. So I really been falling behind on my YouTube. So anybody in the chat here too, if I haven't been watching videos lately, it's because I'm just not watching videos. I'm either working or too tired to do whatever. But I'll get back. I'll be there on Sunday mornings soon with you guys and watching everybody's videos again. So just one little apology out there, but I'll be
all good, man. There's so much to watch. There's so much to watch. You can't watch it all.
There's a lot of content out there. A lot of content.
I feel bad. There's a lot of content.
And that's it. And it's friends and it's people that you want to watch what they posted, but it gets overwhelming. You just can't watch it all.
No, and I understand. It's the same thing. If I put a video, I don't expect everybody to watch it at all. And like I told y'all before, it's for fun for me. It's I'm not here to make a living at it. I'm here to have fun with it. So
that's a big.
To me, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, not too many of us are YouTube millionaires, huh?
No, I gotta have some insurance.
We're almost kind of wrapping up here, but I wanted to check in with Chris. I hope everybody's doing well in Texas. I know it's a big state, so I mean you're only in part of it in East Texas, but I know I saw recently where Texas is starting to open up back up again, and I just wanted to check in and make sure that's going well, and everybody's still safe in your family. You have a couple boys, correct?
Yeah, I got two boys. Got one lives in Austin, one lives here, and I finally seen my son, daughter-in-law, and my grandson this Saturday. First time in about 6 weeks.
Wow, how much
physically got to see him instead of on Facebook or something. So yeah, it was nice to see him, and I noticed the traffic around here has picked up quite a bit.
I hope the reopening goes smooth. I hope that again it's no spike in the cases or whatever. Again, I want to see people get back to work and things get back to normal, but I also want to see people safe too, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't want to get sick. I don't want it. I don't want to give it to nobody. I'd rather be sick and get sick than give it to somebody. That's the thing I don't want to do.
Yeah, exactly. Especially somebody who's older and not healthy enough to fight it. Yeah, I know. I'm in the Ulster Club too here, or whatever. But luckily, luckily I didn't smoke or anything, so my lungs are still in pretty good condition for somebody my age.
Yeah, we never missed a beat. We went to work every day. We're considered essential, so we never checked up. We got some new guidelines for going into the office and going to work in the mornings every day, but we never stopped. The only thing we don't do now is we don't go out and eat lunch because nothing's open.
You bring your lunch.
Saved a ton of money on eating out in the last 6 weeks.
That's a upside. What kind of work do you do, Chris? I mean,
I work in the natural gas pipeline business, Ron.
Okay, I think you mentioned to me, but I had forgot. Right, so you're as essential as they get.
Yeah. Oh no, there's more we keep the gas and pipes for people to turn the lights on, but them first responders and them nurses and doctors and all them, I know they hear it a lot, but they are. I mean, they having to deal with that crap. I couldn't wear these earbuds are starting to bother me. Can you just imagine having to wear a piece of a rubber band around your ear for 12 hours?
There you go.
I mean, even when I put that mask on to go in the store or something, by the time I get out of the store and back in the car, I can't wait to take it off.
No, that's not for me. I bought a neck gaiter so I can pull it down over my face.
Okay.
And because it hurts my ears. I'm just not used to it. That's all it is.
I probably could have never been a surgeon.
Oh man, no doubt. No doubt. I couldn't either.
So, hey, how about the conversation on Lloyd's show tonight when they started talking about those old cars and I didn't even know I didn't even know the proper name for those little side windows. They called them something vents or whatever.
I call them vent windows. Now there's probably another name for it.
Wing windows, we always call them.
Windows, yeah.
They were calling it something else on that show tonight, but I didn't even know they had a name. I used to always just say, "Oh, them little windows."
Poor man's air conditioner.
Yeah, we're probably losing anybody in chat that's not over a certain age. They probably don't even want those. They probably don't even remember those little windows.
Oh, Bill. Chris Hope releases all his bad gas during the day. Thanks, Bill.
So, well, we're gonna wrap this up. We've gone almost an hour and a half. But I want to thank you for joining us, Chris. I mean, I know, you love the Mini as much as we do, probably more or whatever. It's a great little drone. I'm glad this update came out because so many people have been giving the Mini a hard time because they couldn't adjust the video settings manually, and now that's there. And it also gives hope that the Fly app can add more features going forward, because the Fly app, it's a good simple app for beginners, but also it was just a little too stripped down, and now they've added some more to it. And as we see the pictures of people using the Mavic Air 2 Fly app, that it has a lot more features in. So I'm sure the Mini version of the Fly app can get more stuff going forward too. Like Chris would like live streaming. Marcus is probably something you would like that's not on there.
I don't know.
Bill, what would you request for the Fly app for the Mini now? That
Mini, I mean, it really has everything I can need on that size drone right now. It's just the only thing I think for me is if it were more powerful. But then that's what's coming in less than a week. We'll be getting the Mavic Air 2. I mean, it's just physically it does everything you can ask for a drone to do. I mean, they'll tweak it software wise, firmware wise, but physically for me, it's like that. Like Chris was saying, I can get my Phantom 4 Pro up there with 20-25 mile an hour winds. It doesn't even break a sweat, and that's the same thing for me, Chris. Because we get a lot of windy days down here in Florida. So when it's like that, I don't even hesitate. That's a drone that I go for when it's windy outside, because I know it can handle it. And see, that's the only, to me, that's the Achilles heel of the Mini. It was meant to be a 249 gram drone. It was meant to be able to go in, be able to get into countries and without having to get all kinds of approvals and licenses and everything. That's its whole selling feature. And I mean, and they just happen to put a great platform together on it. It's just, for me, when it's windy, I can't even consider it. I mean, when it's like 15, 20 mile an hour winds, that stays on my desk, and I either get my Mavic 2 Pro or the Phantom 4 Pro up.
Bill, is that what they call those tropical Florida breezes?
Yes, tropical Florida breezes that can go anywhere from 25 to 45 to 55 miles an hour, and you aren't even blinking an eyelash when it happens.
Hey, Bill, how warm was it today in Florida?
It was 88 here today, and we had low humidity. The humidity has been high lately. The humidity finally dropped down, so it was actually, very comfortable today. I mean, we're not spending a whole lot of time outside, but when we do, it's been kind of nice.
Chris, how warm was it in East Texas today?
I was in the mid-90s today.
Oh, but he topped you, Bill.
My buddy Jim Hightower lives in Brownwood, Texas.
Oh, really?
It's 100 today. He sent us a picture he took of his thermometer at 100 degrees. Yeah, it's been like this the last 3 or 4 days, and tonight we're supposed to get some storms, and it's supposed to be a norther come through. It's supposed to be about 80 tomorrow. So
Jim lives south of you then.
he lives west of me.
West.
He
Okay.
lives west of Fort Worth, about probably 2 hours.
Is that West Texas or just west of you?
Just west of me. West Texas I call West Texas, Odessa, Permian. That part's west.
Right.
6 to 8 hours away.
Right. Huh.
It's
So-
May 100. Yes, it is, Bill. It is. And our electricity went off this afternoon. It was 92 when the air went off.
Is that because of thunderstorms?
No, that girl wrecked her car.
The girl hit the telephone pole and took it out. Yeah. So, all right, gentlemen. Well, I think we've gone down about the weather, so it's about time to end the show. So again, I want to thank Marcus. Had to leave early. Dinner was probably being served to him by his lovely wife, and Bill's got to get up for work tomorrow, and Chris is still working too, so he's got to get up. So I want to thank everybody for coming on tonight. And I think if anybody has any questions about this mini update, I hope we answered your questions for you tonight. We'll be back next week if we have the Mavic Air 2 on set. That's what the show will be about. But if it's not here, we're going to audible and talk about the Zino 2 and possibly Bill. Maybe not next Monday, but probably before the next show. If your rumors about the 15th for the FEMI X8 2020 are true, that'll be 2 shows from now.
That's right.
So
we'll look forward to that.
All right, I want to thank everybody for joining us in chat tonight. We had a great group in here. As I always say, great comments. I learned as much from the chat as you guys probably did from us with all your questions and comments. And Lauren showed up and gave us some great information. We did a little bit of a memory card nation show there. So we got everybody situated with what memory card to grab for that new drone. So with that, I'm going to say good night. Be safe, everyone. And we will see you next Monday night.
Hey, Ron.
Chris, go ahead.
Quick shout out, Rick Halliburton. Let's keep him in our thoughts. He's in the hospital tonight. Don't know exactly what's going on with him, but just let everybody know. Just keep a good thought on him tonight.
Thank you. Yeah, let's send prayers out for Rick. I know he's had some heart trouble. I don't know if this is heart trouble, but
I don't think it's his heart this time. He did mention on Lloyd's show it wasn't his heart.
Okay, and he was coming in from the hospital, correct?
He was going.
Oh,
he's there. He's there now.
Okay.
They kept him over that.
Yeah, so everybody said prayers for Rick. He's been battling some health issues lately, so let's hope he works through all this and going to the hospital could be kind of a dicey situation now with the virus. So what's really keep him in our prayers. So all right, thanks for adding that in. I'm sorry I saw them talking about it on Lloyd's show, but I didn't know exactly what was going on. So thanks for the update.
Bill, nice chatting with you too, buddy.
Hey, you too, Chris. It's good seeing you. We need to get together in person.
All right. Thanks, Ron. Appreciate you guys.
Good night.
Y'all take care.
Good night, Chris.